everybody, today let's talk about the 870 visa. It's called the Sponsored Temporary Parent Visa, Subclass 870. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Chan and I'm the principal lawyer at Mason Chan Law Group. If you'd like to get in contact with myself or one of our fabulous lawyers or agents, our contact link is below. If you have an urgent matter, you can email us and we will do our best to accommodate you with an early appointment, because right now there is a bit of a wait list for our consultations. So I know that we talk a lot about how to apply for visas yourself and how to apply for this and that. And it's all about yourself essentially. But I know a lot of the planning that comes in, you do want to think about your parents and how you can bring them to Australia with you in the future as well. A lot of the times, your parents want to stay back in their country because, they're comfortable there. But at the end of the day, they do want to look at options to be closer to you, because at the end of the day, they are your parents. So today specifically, we'll talk about the Sponsored Parent 870 visa, which is a temporary visa. Now, of course, there are permanent options, but they have different requirements and the waiting period's a little bit longer. Because the wait period is quite long, in the interim, you might want to think about lodging something like this, which is a more temporary visa. And they don't have to continue to fly in and out on a tourist visa, which is quite difficult, especially when your parents are, a little bit more elderly. It's hard for them to just jump on and off a plane. It's, quite tiring to, be on a plane for more than 8 hours most of the time. Now, before we get stuck into this, if you guys like my videos, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with people who need it. It really helps my channel. So the Sponsored Parent Visa. Now, for this visa, if you're looking to sponsor your parent, there's two aspects to this. So there is the sponsorship and there's the actual visa application. So for your parents to actually be able to lodge a visa application, they need to have an eligible sponsor, which is their child who is a permanent resident of Australia. Now, unlike the 143, the permanent visas here, there's no balance of family test. So for example, if there's 4 children in the family, for the permanent visas, to be eligible, at least 2 of the children have to be permanent residents of Australia. Or if there's 5 children, then at least 3 children need to be permanent residents of Australia. So over 50% for those visas, but there's no balance of family test here. So you just need to be an Australian permanent resident and eligible to sponsor your parent. So the first part of this video, let's talk about the sponsorship requirements so that you can sponsor your parent to come and live temporarily in Australia with you for up to 3 years or up to 5 years, depending on which one you pay for essentially. Now, the cost to become an Australian parent sponsor is not much. It's $420 with the department. The majority of the fees are for the visa applicant themselves, your parents, and the processing time for this is 2 months to 4 months at this point. Previously, we've lodged these and they're taken under a couple of months. So not too long. If you have all your documents ready and it's done all properly, it shouldn't take too long to do essentially. So to be eligible to sponsor your parent, you must first of all hold an eligible visa. So you must be an Australian citizen, Australian permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen, and you must not have been unlawful. Now, you must not have any obvious debts to the Australian government, and you must meet the character requirements, which goes without saying as a requirement for most visas here in Australia. Now, the key thing here is that you must pass the income test. So, because essentially when your parents come on the 870 visa, they can't work. So you're here to sponsor them. You have to be able to support them while they're here. So the requirement is that your taxable income in the last financial year must be over $83,454.80. So let's just say round it up, 84,000. It's too hard to say all those numbers. So your taxable income for the last financial year must be over $84,000 per annum. So if you don't have this amount, there's ways around it. So you can combine your income with your partner. However, your income must always be at least 50% of the total income. So if it's 84,000, you must contribute at least 42,000, let's say. And same goes, so if you have a brother or sister, so the other child of your parent, your brother or sister, who is also Australian permanent resident or citizen, you guys can combine your income as well. Again, if you are the sponsor yourself, you must make up 50% of that total income. So it is the taxable income, all right? So it's the total amount that you have at the end of the financial year. So that would be the key requirement to become an approved sponsor for this 870 visa. So if you basically did tick those boxes, you'd be eligible to sponsor your parents. So you go ahead and you submit a sponsorship application. In the meantime, you'll be preparing, the documents for your parents' visa application. So once that sponsorship is approved, then they can lodge the parent visa. Now, the parent visa usually needs to be lodged offshore. After the visa is granted, it can be granted for up to 3 to 5 years. Obviously, that depends on which one you apply for, and the costs are different. So for 3 years, the cost is $5,000 with the department. For 5 years, the cost is $10,000 for the department, which, seems expensive. However, if you think about it, the cost of, your parents coming back and forth, the time, the energy, everything, this probably does work out better if they can just stay here with you for 5 years. That's pretty good. So I do think there's been a slight increase also to the fees. Anyways, they change from time to time anyway. So as long as you know the ballpark figure, be prepared that it could be give and take a couple $100 here and there because visa fees increase every single year. The processing time currently online says 2 months to 7 months. They're not visas that take a long time. So, if you're kind of looking to bring your parents over the next 6 months or so, I think that's definitely achievable.